How's it going, everybody? This is another video of Steven Talks, and today I'm going to talk about David Lynch. David Lynch is by far my favorite director and storyteller. I think the man's body of work is genius. It is creepy and ambiguous, yet also just peppered with absolute insanity and hilarity. I think everyone always talks about, how otherworldly and creepy his stuff is, but a lot of people don't talk about the fact that it's hilarious. Like, he was a goofy dude, and I love that about him. My first experience with a David Lynch movie was actually this one right here. I'm repping Eraserhead right now. I was a freshman in college in 1997, and I was taking an English class, and the guy that was teaching the class was an undergrad. He really wasn't much older than the rest of us in the class. And one day he came in with this VHS tape and he was like, today I'm going to show you guys a movie, and half of you are going to hate this movie. You are going to think that it is weird, it doesn't make sense, and it's just not going to be your cup of tea. But the other half of you are going to have your minds blown. And I remember him saying, he was like, you will have better luck finding a midnight showing of this movie than you will actually finding a physical copy of it. Because this was 1997. This was long before you could go out and buy a copy of Eraserhead. I don't think it actually hit DVD until like 2000. But I guess in hindsight, the dude was just trying to show off the fact that he had a bootleg of Eraserhead. But he popped the movie on, and I would say like 15 to 20 minutes into the movie, I looked around the room, and everyone else in the class was either fast asleep or they were like doodling in their notebooks. I was front and center, locked on to that TV. I had never seen anything like Eraserhead at that point in my life. I guess in my naive brain at the time, I always, figured that movies had a certain structure, that you had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And Eraserhead was the first time that I fully realized that a movie could exist purely to create a mood, to create an atmosphere, and that really there were no limits. There were no rules to what you could do as far as making a film. And I was elated by the time that it was over. I mean, I was like giddy just running out of that classroom. And I went back to my dorm room, and I'm talking to my roommate and my friends, and I'm just like, oh man, like we just watched this movie called Eraserhead, and it is so crazy, man. And they were like, really? They're like, what is it about? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't begin to tell you what this movie is about, but I just know that I love it. And I knew immediately that I needed to watch more films by David Lynch. So the next one, I think right off the bat, I ended up renting Blue Velvet, and, was blown away by that movie. Blue Velvet to me really is, I think, the best example of the mindset of David Lynch, where he was, incredibly enamored with the 50s and 60s kind of Americana, the white picket fences, the quaint little neighborhoods, everybody going down to the soda shop to get a malt and listen to 50s and 60s music. But at the same time, underneath all of this idealized version of what life could be like in a perfect world was a lot of darkness and a lot of really disturbing things that were coexisting with that. And I think Blue Velvet is a shining example of that. So, watching that sealed the deal. And I'm pretty sure I saw The Elephant Man at the same time, or right around that same period. So, yeah, I was sold. I was like, all right, I love this guy. I love what he does. I'm a fan. And so I went through them all, like Wild at Heart and any of the ones that I could get my hands on. And then I ended up watching Lost Highway, and it pissed me off. Pretty much came close to derailing my love for David Lynch because, I watched it, and by the end of the movie, I was incredibly frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. I like to think that I'm a reasonably intelligent man, but I, for the life of me, could not understand what the hell was going on in that movie. And so I got mad. I'm like, I don't get this, and I don't understand why I don't get this, and it's frustrating me that I don't get this. So, I came very close to writing him off. It wasn't until I think a few years after that when Mulholland Drive came out, and I started really reading a lot of things that people were saying about it, and it was getting all of these rave reviews. So I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out. And I watched Mulholland Drive and had kind of a similar experience that I had when I watched Lost Highway. By the end of the movie, I'm like, I don't understand, man. Like, I don't get what's going on here. And what changed all of that and really, I think, made me officially respect the man and fall in love with what he does was, I don't know if it was watching a TV interview or if it was something that I read, like an interview in a magazine, but he was talking about the fact that he refuses to explain his work. He's never going to sit down and give a long explanation of what this means and what this symbolizes and all of that, because he doesn't want to destroy the magic. He was of the opinion that movies, once they're made, belong to the audience, and that people can take whatever they want out of these stories, and you're not wrong. Whatever interpretation you have of it, that's your interpretation. It belongs solely to you. And there you go. That's your reward for watching his films. And so that really, that changed everything for me. And I thought, well, okay, I've been overly concerned with trying to figure it out. And now I realize that doesn't matter. I'm never going to get an official answer of what this means. I'm never going to be told by the man who created this that this is how you should see this. So I watched Mulholland Drive again. I gave it a second viewing, and it was a different experience. Instead of trying to figure it out, I just accepted everything. I watched the movie. I had a blast with it. And by the end of it, I loved it. People talk about the concept of like nightmare logic or dream logic. And they really attribute that to David Lynch. There's a reason why people use the term Lynchian to describe certain things, because his work is very much in the realm of dream logic, where, when you have a dream, your dream switches situations randomly throughout the course of it, with very little explanation. Hardly any of it makes sense, but it happens. And that's the way that I viewed Mulholland Drive. And by the end of it, I adored it. I thought it was a fantastic movie. So then I'm like, all right, well, let me go back and watch Lost Highway again, because now I know how to approach it. So I watched Lost Highway again, and it was much better the second time that I watched it. I'm still not I'm not crazy about Lost Highway. Like, I don't think that it's a bad film at all. I appreciate it and respect it, but it's going to be further down on my list of favorite Lynch films. So my love of David Lynch was reinvigorated. I was singing his praises in any way that I could. And then a few years after that, it dawned on me at a moment in my life when I was looking for something to get into. I needed something to watch that was longer than a movie. I needed a really in-depth story to lose myself in. And I realized at that point that I had never sat down and watched Twin Peaks. I was aware of it. I knew all about it. You know, it was a big, big part of pop culture when it came out, but I'd never watched it. So I found a box set that had, you know, the first 2 seasons and then the movie Fire Walk with Me, which is the prequel to the show. And I was introduced to my favorite show of all time. Twin Peaks is a brilliant juxtaposition of really dark, scary material and some of the most hilarious and goofy shit you've ever seen in your life. And those are the 2 things that exist in my brain. My brain loves creepy things and my brain loves goofy shit. And so it just, And I adore that show. It's cozy. There's something incredibly cozy about at least the original first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks. And when I finally watched the show was right around the time when he came out with the 3rd season that aired on Showtime. And, you know, if I had to pick my favorite thing that Lynch ever did in his career, as much as I love Eraserhead, as much as I love Blue Velvet, I would have to go with that 3rd season of Twin Peaks. There is nothing like it. Every episode is so unpredictable. You have no clue what you're about to see. It pretty much managed to piss off so many hardcore Twin Peaks fans because he refused to answer questions. He refused to continue the story in a way that everyone wanted him to. And to tell you the truth, I loved him for it. I loved that he, you know, bucked the convention of what everyone thought that he was going to do. If you have never watched Twin Peaks, I can't recommend it enough. Watch that show and then buckle up for that 3rd season because, my God, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And so, yeah, I was very sad when he passed away. You know, there are certain celebrities when they pass on, you know, you hear about it and you're like, oh man, oh, that sucks, you know, but I hate to say it, it doesn't really affect the rest of your day. But when Lynch left us, man, I was like, man. But the bright side of that is that the man kept his word. He never explained anything. He didn't leave some vast tome of written, you know, explanations of every single one of his films or the, you know, of Twin Peaks or anything like that. He left those things for us. So they belong to us. That is his gift to us, is that we can pull any interpretation out of these that we want to. We can see it in any way that really truly affects us as an individual. And I think in today's society where everything is over-explained, everything is, you know, surface level, face value stuff, Lynch was the last true magician, the last true great storyteller that kept the mystery to his stories. And I will always love him for that. So Yeah, there you go. That was me talking about my love for David Lynch. So if you've never experienced his films, go for it. If this video gets you to check them out, then I've done my job and I'm a happy man. So thank you. I'll talk to you next time.